Hi, and welcome to this video series from the SAP Partner Engineering team. My name is Julie, and in this series of videos, we're taking a look at some integration scenarios for background check processing for the recruiting module. In our last video, we took a look at the setup in the integration center, so loading our integration center template and setting up our endpoint for our service. In this video, we're going to take a look at configuring the Intelligent Services tool to be able to process our option 2, which is our event-triggered initiation of a background check order. Intelligent Services is our event notification mechanism that raises events based on an event happening in SuccessFactors, and then it can send a payload to an external entity for further action. In our example, an update to the status of the application be the internal event that then triggers the integration center to go ahead and send the request to the partner endpoint, initiating the order for the background check information. So let's get started by making sure that our Intelligent Services is enabled in our admin center. So from the admin center, we can search for the Intelligent Services Center. And since mine's been enabled, I can see the list of all the different events that have been defined at this point. And we want to look for the update of job application status. And then what we want to do is we want to come over here and click on the integration. And so we're going to fill in a new integration. So create new integration. And we're going to use REST. And we're going to use JSON. And click create. And let's go ahead and name our integration that we're creating. So we'll say background check using Intelligent Services. And next. So the next thing we want to do is for our integration, we want to add a couple of fields. So the first field I'm going to create is going to be my job application ID. And this is actually going to be an associated field. And we want to associate that with the job application ID. And then our next field, we're going to do a sibling. And here we want to do an account code. And this can be a fixed field. And what we could just put in there would be, let's say, our company number. So that way we have that information in our record going back and forth. And let's go ahead and save that. Just scroll down here. There we go. And we'll save. And of course, you can add as many other fields as you need for your particular example. Okay, next. And then if we had our JSON loaded, we could see the response, but we haven't done that yet. Then the next thing that we might want to do is to go ahead and insert a filter. And so we can apply a filter and say that anytime that a particular field meets a certain criteria, then that's when we want to have this event triggered. And we're going to add our criteria here based on our job applicant status. And we want to choose the applicant status name. And then we can say is equal to, and we'll put in background. And next. And of course, for our destination, we need to enter our endpoint and put in our login credentials using basic authentication. Okay, so now we see our, we can review our integration flow. We can go ahead and save. Make sure that all our changes are written. And then we can either test it by doing a run now, or we can choose to go back to the Intelligent Services Center. And here, once we've done that, we see that we have a background check now enabled. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and make sure that we save our flow here in the actions as well. So that takes care of our Intelligent Services Center and our integration template. So let's quickly go and set up our recruiting vendor. So we're going to go into the manage data area. We're going to set up a vendor. We want the recruiting external vendor. We'll choose create new recruiting external vendor. And the external code, we'll call it a mythical vendor. And the vendor name, we can use mythical again. And this is for the background check, so we'll go ahead and save. And one more thing we want to check on our recruiting vendor. So let's go back and pull up our vendor. And this time we want to do the integration mapping. So we're going to go ahead and choose that. And then our selection, we should see our vendor that we just created. And then for create new, we're going to do the vendor mapping again. So type in vendor to make a shorter list, and we can do recruiting mapping. Mythical map. And our vendor is going to be mythical. Our integration center, we're going to do the background using intelligent services that we created earlier. Our default integration, we can say yes, and the hours before reinitiate, let's just set to an hour, and then we can go ahead and save that. And so now we have our integration mapping as well. Okay, we have that set up, so let's flip back over to our integration status, and we'll make sure that we save our integration flow that we've created. And so if we look at our event monitor, the last event we have was 10 o'clock. So let's go ahead and go into our recruiting module. And let's just pull up a job requisition and find a candidate. And we see a candidate here who's in interview 2. So let's say that this person is ready for the background check. So in doing the take actions, I can actually move the status of this candidate into the next phase, or into the background check status. So we'll choose background check from the drop down and apply our update. So now we've actually triggered an update in the job application status field. So now if we go back to our intelligent services, or first if we look at the integration center, we can see that we actually had an event triggered here at 3 o'clock. And that event got triggered by the change in status in the intelligent services component. So if we go back and look at our intelligent services as well, let's go ahead and pull that tool back up. And we open up our job status event. We see in the event monitor that we had the event triggered at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, if we go back to our diagram, we can see that we've completed the circuit based on a change in SuccessFactors that initiates an intelligent services event that then triggers the integration center event as well.